Junior officers of the Malian army staged a coup late March 21st. The new junta, the Committee for the Return of Democracy and the Restoration of the State, or CNRDR, occupied the presidential palace and other government installations in the capital Bamako. The junta deposed the government of President Amadou Toumani Toure and accused it of failing to responsibly combat a rebellion led by ethnic Tuareg militias occurring in northern Mali. The exact whereabouts of President Toure are not clear. It is reported he has either sought refuge at the U.S. Embassy in Bamako or is being sheltered at a military camp near Bamako by remaining loyalist soldiers. Other Malian government ministers, including the Foreign Minister and the Territorial Administration Minister, have been reportedly detained by the junta. Mali has experienced a renewed Tuareg insurgency in 2012, triggered by ethnic militia members returning to Mali following the collapse of the Gaddafi regime in Libya, who had hired or harbored Tuareg mercenaries. Tuareg fighters began to infiltrate back into their traditional strongholds of northern Mali in mid-2011. Wider attacks in northern Mali have been carried out by Tuareg fighters since January 2012, but government forces have not been able to defeat or bring an end to the insurgency. The Tuareg claim to be fighting for the independence of and to impose Sharia in their region. The junta takeover has been condemned by regional and international powers, including France, Nigeria, Algeria, and the Economic Community of West African states. Led by Captain Amadou Sanogo, the new Malian junta states they will hand over power to a democratically elected government once security in the north is restored. What that means is the currently scheduled election for April 29th is probably canceled. There will very likely be a suspension of official military cooperation by countries including the U.S. and France, and a suspension of ties with regional countries including Nigeria. Normalization will only occur once the junta does return power to civilian rule. The U.S. and France will conduct unilateral military cooperation against AQIM threats in the Sahel region, however, operations that are not limited to Mali. ECOWAS and the African Union will probably send envoys to mediate with the junta and press them to set into motion plans to return power to a civilian government. If neighboring Niger is to be a guide, the CNRDR will likely give themselves a year to stabilize their grip on power and then organize new elections. Counter to the junta's justifications, conducting a more effective counterinsurgency against the Tuareg will likely become more difficult. Without help from foreign military intelligence and logistics, as well as a partial fracturing of the military, the likelihood of the junta increasing the counterinsurgency tempo is almost nil, and rather is likely to degrade. The junior officers of the new junta may find themselves prioritizing displacing their former commanders and assuming control over the offices and resources of the Malian government, consolidating their position in Bamako while mediating a handover to a civilian grouping willing to protect and promote these junior officers' interests. In that case, these distractions in Bamako benefit the Tuareg in the north, at least in the short term.